Well, hello there, Mr. Grinch. Today's the day, Inauguration Day. Mr. Trump has been inaugurated. He is now President of the United States once again. And worth noting is that I had to laugh that the Biden administration pardoned pretty much everybody in the world in a ridiculous attempt to not let Trump exercise his rights. And, the ridiculous, everyone's making a whole mountain out of a molehill. The pardons are federal. They can still bring charges on the state level, and they can still do civil penalties, and they can still impeach and remove people from office. I mean, just because they can't put them in jail for it, there's a whole lot of other types of punishment, some of which are much worse. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this falls out. But I just wanted to get on here and do a little quick recap before I start my day doing some music reviews. This is going to be just a short political recap. I enjoyed watching the swearing in. Trump was rather ruthless in his condemnation. A lot of what Biden had done, with Biden sitting there 5 feet from him. You could just see the look on Biden's face. He was not a happy camper. And apparently today there's 100 things or so that he's signing into law, reversing pretty much everything Biden did and getting our country back on a better economic footing, which is, to me, the most critical aspect of it. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, our system works. It works. I think it's unfortunate that the Democrats had such a bad run this last 4 years. I think, they chose the wrong candidate, and it cost them. It cost them a lot. And going to be interesting to see how the long-term fallout of this is. But this blanket pardons is not something that's ever been done before. So it's setting a new precedent that really is not a good direction for our country to go, because then Trump can do that with all of his people, and so they can commit all kinds of crimes and get away with it. We can't have people just getting pardoned willy-nilly. We got to have the rule of law and hold people responsible for their actions. Keep things right. I'll put a little light on the subject here. There we go. Ooh, I look so handsome. Yes, anyhow, that's my sort of wrap up, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 4 years. I thought the inauguration went well. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We will definitely see what happens. I did want to mention briefly about the fires in California. Many of you are not aware that when I lived in Montana for a dozen years, I was a volunteer firefighter, EMT, drove the ambulance, and responded to emergencies for people, fires, and, house fires, wildland fires, which was more common out there. But I, went to the fire school down in Cody, Wyoming, and I learned the systems. I actually served as a secretary of the board also for a fire service area. So I got to know a lot of the back office operation aspects of it and the financial aspects of it. And I can tell you that what's happening in California was just gross negligence and mismanagement, period. The people in charge of the government, the people in charge of the fire service area, all of them just completely mismanaged the situation. The forests are not being managed to provide good access for the fire department to get up there and fight forest fires. That's the first mistake. The equipment's not being maintained. The firehouses are not being maintained. And so one would have to assume that the staffing and the training is not being maintained. That's an executive mistake. And that's where you have to hold the mayors and the governors and those sorts of people responsible. For Gavin Newsom to say, well, the local people are working out the water issue. No, sir. That's got to be something that's to be done statewide. You've got to allocate resources and set up the main infrastructure that they can then tap into and break down into the local jurisdictions. So, and again, I'm not saying it's Republican or Democrat. I'm just saying that that's what's happening in LA. So, is this going to cause LA to become a red state? I don't know. Most of California actually is red. It's just the urban areas are not. And I think the urban areas are having a bit of a metamorphosis right now. So we shall see. We shall see. It's going to be an interesting few years coming up. It really will be an interesting few years coming up. So, all right. Well, with that said, let me end this and get on to my day of doing music reviews. I don't usually do political commentary, but I felt obliged to get in here and say a little bit. It's important that we address that somewhat. So I'll go post this and we'll get into our music. I got some great stuff coming up today, some Angelina Jordan and others. So hope you'll enjoy it. All right, folks. God bless.